My husband, 50M, is upset that our sons, 18/20M, come to me about his personal life more than him. I, 50M, don't know how to pacify him. My husband and I have 2 sons. For Reddit purposes, Andy is 20, Jake is 18. Andy takes a little more after his dad and Jake takes more after me, but both boys have great relationships with us both. I've been vaguely aware that they share that more with me, but it never arose as an issue or something in my mind. I figured they were probably doing the same to him just where I wasn't seeing it. I've also consistently been a little more critical, a little more bad cop as a parent with them. Their dad is an unconditional cheerleader, always the yes man in our parenting dynamic, so I figured they probably went to him more often than I was realizing. Andy and Jake are both considering pretty major life changes right now. Andy is thinking of proposing to his girlfriend and Jake wants to move out. They have both talked this over with me and I've been giving them advice. A few days ago, we were in bed and I mentioned that Andy and I were going engagement ring shopping next week. My husband was instantly surprised and said he didn't realize Andy was getting so serious with his girlfriend. I was confused because I thought Andy would have discussed this with him. We talked about it and I realized that our kids have not been talking to him about anything. I have been their primary vent/advice giver/ etc. Which I thought was extremely strange because again, I'm the parent that challenges them on their ideas, etc. So I figured even if they liked the input or being pushed, they were probably seeking yeses from somewhere. My husband is downright hurt. He has been very frustrated with our kids, upset that they have been withholding to him. He is especially hurt that I didn't notice, in his words did not care enough to notice that they weren't communicating, and that they prefer me to him. He has been shutting us all out a little bit, feeling very hurt. My sons feel bad but have just said they prefer talking to me more, even though they love their dad. I don't know how to pacify my husband. He is a very emotional man who feels so intensely that when he gets like this, I worry there's no getting him out of it. He's taken this as a very personal slight and I can understand why, but I don't know what to do. How do I resolve this? Do I toss this to my kids and make them figure it out? Do I just ride this out? TL, doctor, my sons don't talk to their father about their issues as much as they do to me. My husband is devastated about this and I need it to stop. He is a very emotional man who feels so intensely that when he gets like this, I worry there's no getting him out of it. He's taken this as a very personal slight. I think I can guess why your sons don't want to get mired in personal conversations with him. Dad, I'm thinking of moving out. What? Why are you leaving me? God, what did I do? How can you betray me like this? I'm a parent with small kids, but I've already had this dynamic play out with my family. Hold the kids accountable, being consistent, but also do the fun organizing. My husband is very laid back and go with the flow. Our 5-year has always favored me, which was initially blamed on breastfeeding. We were always together. Physical comfort wasn't the same. I also did all the nighttime care. After we weaned, that didn't change. My husband would get hurt when our son came to me and rejected him. He has started therapy to work through some of this, because I basically said he needed to learn coping mechanisms to manage his feelings. It's not up to me or our kids to change our preferences and desires to make him feel better. It's not a healthy dynamic for anyone. Too long didn't read, this is a him problem, which he needs to work on independent of you or your sons. I don't know how to pacify my husband. He is a very emotional man who feels so intensely that when he gets like this, I worry there's no getting him out of it. He's taken this as a very personal slight. This is probably why they prefer you. Sounds like talking to him requires walking on eggshells and he makes it all about him. The fact that he hasn't taken any of this as oh wow, I need to work harder at my relationship with my sons is the problem. He is taking no accountability and even has the audacity to blame you, as if being a safe person for your sons is a bad thing. Why is it more on you to know more about his relationship with his sons than him? If it bothers him that they don't confide him, he needs to work on being someone they can confide in. He comes off as someone who tends to make things about himself. The fact that he hasn't taken any of this as oh wow, I need to work harder at my relationship with my sons is the problem. Ding ding ding. I was about to say the same thing. No introspection, only emotional reaction. And op now feels like they have another problem to fix. Something that stood out to me is this quote: "He is especially hurt that I didn't notice," in his words did not care enough to notice that they weren't communicating, and that they prefer me to him. Did he not notice? Was he satisfied with his relationships with your sons before this? I wonder if maybe he doesn't engage or reach out to them as much as you have historically. Edit: I can't read. Ignore this part. This is often gendered and obviously not always correct, but often fathers can end up a bit more passive in relationships with their adult children, preferring to allow their kids comes to them, while mothers stay more involved. It is worth noting that your kids, while adults, are very young and likely haven't developed the skills to maintain relationships well. It is normal for parents to still be the driving force to maintain a relationship until the children are in their mid/late 20s. You are still very much authority figures in their lives still, so they are used to largely engaging on your terms. It is understandable that he is hurt, but he should take this as an opportunity to really look into how he has directed his side of their relationship. Blaming your sons and you for this isn't productive, and though you and your sons can take steps to close this gap, I really think realistically he needs to be the driving force here. I think both parents are men, but other than the gender aspect, I agree with your post. This kind of emotionally intimate relationship takes work and initiative. How to deal with boyfriend's thoughtlessness. My boyfriend, 29, and I, 27, have been together almost 10 years. He is generally a very decent person. He is funny, social, and he cares for me. Lately though, I have been picking up on selfish behaviors that have stated to make me slightly resentful. When it comes to small everyday things that we could do for each other, he tends to be somewhat thoughtless. For example, during lockdown, I prepared most of our breakfasts and lunches, and I almost always make coffees for us in the morning. These small gestures are rarely reciprocated. This morning I made us a nice breakfast, and a while later he popped out to the shop to get dinner items, as we take turns with dinner each day. He came back with lunch. Just for him. Like it didn't even cross his mind to pick me up anything at all. I also feel as if he somewhat expects me to do certain things too. Usually if I'm buying things online, I will get him something too. Recently, I ordered a few face masks from a local store. He has made 2 comments about how I should order some for him the next time too. I told him that he was completely capable of doing this himself, and he just laughed it off and was like, "No, I can't." Just feels a bit immature and slightly selfish. BTW, I'm not going to break up with him. I'm just looking for advice from anyone who may have experienced similar issues in a relationship. TLDR. Boyfriend's everyday thoughtlessness and selfishness by expecting but not returning small favors is making me resentful. Stop doing shit for him. If he isn't willing to reciprocate and doesn't appreciate it, why bother? He's taking you for granted. I was going to say exactly that. Breakfast, coffee, lunch. Only make for yourself. If he goes out and comes back with lunch only for him, grab it and start eating it. When he gets shitty, "Oh, I thought you got it for me, and didn't you already have yours on the way back?" You either accept he is thoughtless or not. My suggestion is that you stop doing anything for him. If he complains, oh well. I agree that he should notice your efforts on his behalf, but it sounds like he isn't. Lol. I'm a little unclear if this is something you've raised with him previously. In addition to having a conversation like, it would really mean a lot to me if going forward you would pick something up from the store for me as well. You might also have a talk with him about how his verbal appreciation for stuff you do for him, for example, preparing breakfasts and lunches etc., would make you feel valued as his partner and mean a lot to you. Or, maybe you could have a conversation about more equitably divvying up the tasks so you don't feel so resentful when you end up making breakfast/lunch/coffee. If you have had this conversation multiple times with 0 results, there might be greater issues at play here worth examining. When my SO does something selfish, I pretty say it right then and there so it can be resolved. "Hey, so I see you bought lunch. Where is mine?" "Oh, you only bought lunch for you?" That is where the discussion should have continued. Holding on to hurt feelings and resentment is never good in a relationship. It sounds like you've spent 10 years parenting this man and he has spent 10 years being taken care of. He has come to expect this arrangement, and, because it doesn't sound like his behavior has changed recently, more that you've started to become aware of and annoyed by it, he hasn't been given any reason to change. Discuss it with him, but prepare yourself for the fact that he may be surprised that you're changing the rules out of the blue, from his perspective, and you may meet with some resistance because you're moving the goalposts by, again from his perspective, withdrawing some of the services you've been providing for him and asking him to do more. From his privileged position, this will seem like a lose situation. It may be difficult to alter the dynamic of your relationship after such a long time. I wish you well up. I hope you get the outcome you wish for X. My 21F partner's 23M mom still keeps close contact with his ex. I'm really just looking for advice on if I'm overreacting or not. My partner was in a relationship from a young age for 6 years with his ex. They split because they weren't making each other happy anymore, what he's told me, but there's no bad blood between them. He was single for about a year before we met, and we have now been together over a year. His mom is a lovely person who I get on with really well and feel as though I have a genuine friendship with, which I also believe is how his ex was with her. That doesn't bother me as they're a very welcoming family. My partner is very honest with me and told me early on that his mom and ex do meet up occasionally to catch up. At first this didn't bother me, but I'm a classic overthinker, and as our relationship has gone on it has bothered me more and more. What I want to know is if this is something I shouldn't let bother me. I do struggle with anxiety, which is something I'm working through in therapy, and my partner has been amazing helping me overcome a lot of things that I've struggled with from an early age. His family have been incredibly welcoming, and I could see how his ex and his mom would build a friendship over the years from the way I myself feel with her. I know that she will sometimes tell my partner things she knows about his ex, but I don't believe he ever asks, and that she only tells him things as a heads up or sorts, as they were together for 6 years. Sorry if this is a ramble, just want to get my head clear. Thank you if you've read my mundane problems. Too long didn't read. My partner's mom is still in contact with his ex of 6 years. Am I reading too much into it? Edit. Thank you to those who have taken the time to comment. Honestly, I felt better as soon as I posted, as I felt I'd been able to put my thoughts into actual sentences. Everyone's telling me they don't think it's a big deal, which is relieving to hear, to say the least. My partner doesn't talk to her or meet up with her. That would be a whole different situation, because whilst his ex is a nice person, it is still his ex, and that wouldn't feel right to me. I know he does also talk to his ex's mom from time to time, but he's told me that he got on well with her parents separately too. Feel like it's one of those times where I've got to take a breath and let it go. You can't control who his mother is friends with, and neither can he. Don't stress yourself out over things beyond your control. Looks like you got some great advice, but I'll share my parents' relationship with one of my younger brother's exes. She and he dated briefly, less than a year, mostly long distance while he was in college and she was in our hometown, 300 miles from his school. They broke up more or less amicably, and she remained cordial but not super close with my parents. Well, one day my parents figured out she was living out of her car, because her home situation involved a handsy, gropey family member and a bunch of blind-eye other family members. They offered to let her rent a room in exchange for low rent and household chores, and she accepted. She lived with them for 3-ish years while she attended the local community college, graduated, and moved on with her life. Without them, in our small town, a life of meth is a pretty common outcome, so it really was an amazing opportunity for her. While she was there, bro and I were simply grateful they had company, since we were low-key worried about them being empty nesters, and older people in a big house 45 minutes from town with very few year-round neighbors. She and my mom are still incredibly close, see each other probably every other day or so, and she fills a daughter role in their life that I can't perform, being 900 miles away now. Both bro and I value her presence in our lives, and consider her family now. Every family is different, but sometimes family is created through unusual circumstances, and that can be a gift, not a burden or inconvenience if you let it.